نتقدم بداية بالشكر الجزيل للمفوض السامي للأمم المتحدة لشؤون اللاجئين السيد أنطونيو غوتيريز على جهوده المستمرة والملحوظة في مجال دعم جهود الحكومة السورية في رعاية وتهيئة الظروف المناسبة للاجئين المقيمين على الأراضي السورية، بالإضافة إلى جهوده في رعاية اللاجئين السوريين في الأراضي المجاورة. قرأنا تقارير المفوض السامي باهتمام، ونود في هذا الإطار التقدم بالملاحظات التالية. أولاً، سبق وأن لفت وفد بلادي عناية المفوض السامي في حوارنا معه العام الماضي من على هذا المنبر إلى تقارير أممية ودولية وغير حكومية تفيد بانعدام الأمن في المخيمات المضيفة للاجئين السوريين على أراضي الدول المجاورة، وانتشار حالات السرقة والاغتصاب وعمالة الأطفال والزواج القسري والاستغلال الجنسي والاتجار بالبشر، وذلك بتسهيل من القائمين على تلك المخيمات من جهة، ومن منظمات غير حكومية محلية من جهة أخرى، إضافة إلى تجنيد الأطفال في تلك المخيمات للقتال إلى جانب المجموعات الإرهابية المسلحة، وذلك بعد غسل أدمغتهم وإشباعهم بالأفكار المتطرفة والأيديولوجية التكفيرية، ومن ثم إرسالهم إلى سوريا. ومع ذلك لم نجد أي إشارة في تقرير المفوض السامي الحالي إلى تلك الظواهر الخطيرة والموثقة في تقارير الأمم المتحدة، ومنها تقرير منظمة اليونيسف. نود هنا توجيه سؤال للسيد المفوض السامي: ما هي الإجراءات التي اتخذتموها بصفتكم المسؤولين عن أمن تلك المخيمات، وذلك بالتعاون مع الحكومات المضيفة، لوقف تلك الانتهاكات بحق السوريين القاطنين في تلك المخيمات؟ ثانياً، نظراً لاعتراف الأمم المتحدة بواقع وجود الإرهاب في سوريا، فهل ينوي المفوض السامي في تقاريره وبياناته المستقبلية أن يشير إلى وجود جماعات إرهابية مسلحة في سوريا كانت السبب الأول لنزوح المواطنين السوريين عن بيوتهم الآمنة؟ ثالثاً وأخيراً، لا زالت المبالغ التي تقدم لتمويل خطة الاستجابة في دول الجوار تمثل ضعف المبالغ المخصصة لتمويل خطة الاستجابة داخل سوريا، في الوقت الذي يعرف فيه الجميع أن عدد السوريين المحتاجين للمساعدة الإنسانية داخل سوريا أكبر بعشرات المرات من عدد السوريين القاطنين في مخيمات اللجوء، مع الأخذ بالاعتبار أن غالبية السوريين يعيشون في المناطق الحضرية وعلى نفقتهم الخاصة. فكيف يتم معالجة هذا التناقض من قبل المفوض السامي؟ نجدد شكرنا للسيد غوتيريز ونتطلع لأجوبته. شكرا.
I thank the representative of the Syrian Arab.
I'd like to thank the distinguished representative of the Syrian Arab Republic. And indeed, to remind that Syria was until recently the second largest refugee hosting country in the world. And I've had an enormous admiration for the Syrian people, for the extreme generosity that always existed in the way they shared their resources with the refugees. The Palestinian refugees having in Syria the highest level of rights of the countries in the region, and the Iraqi refugees that were not in camps, that were in the community, and I've witnessed how much the community was sharing in a very generous way their resources. And that is why I believe that there is today a very strong responsibility, our responsibility and the international community, to support Syrians in distress, both inside Syria and outside. The question you raised, and that I've been raising also in several occasions, is a very important question for us, is how to guarantee that Syrian refugees are not victims of child labor, child recruitment, sexual and gender-based violence, and other aspects. And I have to say that there has been a lot of work being done. We are not, UNHCR is not a state. we have not the capacity to guarantee security of people. We cooperate with states, but it's states that have police forces, judiciary systems, and the responsibility to guarantee security. And I have to say that we are enhancing very strongly our cooperation with host states, and namely with Turkey, with Lebanon, and with Iraq, to try to address those problems. And I believe some considerable improvements have been made. If you look at Zatri today and Zatri a few months or 1 or 2 years ago, there is a world of difference. And indeed, the conditions have improved quite substantially in relation to security. And one thing in which we have been adamant is to say that refugee settlements of whatever sort need to be entirely humanitarian in their nature, and that it is totally unacceptable to have recruitment or other forms of similar activities taking place in there. And again, I want to say that in that we are having a closer and more effective cooperation also with the governments of those countries. This is a central concern for us. In relation to sources of persecution, I have to say that in our country of origin information, in Syria, there is ample information about violations also by non-state agents of persecution. And so your second point, we have been covering it in relation to our mandate because it is our obligation to do so. Finally, what can we do? What can we do and what are we doing in relation to those that are not in camps? And first, we had, I would say, the most enhanced registration system ever applied in urban centers or in other non-camp situations in the region. We have a very strong program of winterization in all neighboring countries, but also in support inside Syria. We are hoping to be successful in that winterization program. Last year, not one single Syrian refugee has perished because of cold temperatures in any of the neighboring countries, and this is something that was possible due to this very strong commitment. We have an increasing program of cash grants to vulnerable families, and we are establishing the best possible cooperation with the states for access to education and health. There is still a long way to go. Only 1/3 of the Syrian refugee children abroad are in formal education systems, about 50% in total. There is still a long way to go, and we are very strongly committed to make it happen. There is, of course, as you can imagine, a dramatic gap in resources when we think of the large number, more than 3 million Syrian refugees. But these are, for me, absolute priorities that I feel not only because they are refugees, but also because I will never forget the generosity of the Syrian people. And even today, we have Iraqi refugees in Syria, and we are working to make sure, and there is cooperation also with your government on that, to make sure that they receive the adequate protection they require.